It was the year ABCD. Across the land, one army stood unmatched. They swept through the enemies like a storm, claiming village after village. They were absolutely invincible to all who faced them. They reigned for years as the army kept expanding. Until one day, something rather strange began to happen. It began with a single man's rebellion. He believed that every soldier deserved a life of his own. That it was time the army stopped breaking its back for a village that never offered a word of thanks. To the kingdom, they were merely pawns, but to him, they were men who deserved to fend for themselves. Little by little, he whispered reasons why a soldier owed nothing to the army. One by one, the men began to listen, and just like that, a rebellion was born in the shadows. They moved in silence, eliminating all those they saw as a threat. From prominent officers to normal soldiers, one after another, they claimed their wealth and power. With each strike, their numbers grew, and with each victory, they grew stronger and stronger. The word got to the authorities that there was a secret rebellion of soldiers whose goal was to dismantle the kingdom and set every soldier free. But there was just one problem. Nobody knew who these soldiers were. Nobody knew who their leader was. They looked exactly like regular soldiers, they spoke like regular soldiers, and even attended meetings where plans were made to execute the leader of the rebellion. Some of the king's most trusted generals had even stood beside the very rebels in those meetings, searching for the traitors, while the traitors nodded along. So the leaders were left in the dark, without any idea of how large the rebellion had grown or who they would strike next. After several months of trying to discover the culprits with no progress, the king called for an emergency meeting with his princes and leaders from various districts. As the king made his way to the meeting, the news got to him that 7 of his sons were executed on their way to the venue. In that moment, in an attempt to protect the little he had left, the king made his final move. He gave the order to unleash a force the kingdom had not seen in generations. The most powerful soldiers in the land, deployed only when all else had failed. Regular soldiers knew them by a single name, the Natural Cycle. These were no ordinary men. The king granted them absolute authority to inspect and execute anyone they suspected, with or without proof. Not even the king was exempted from this. That's how absurd their power was. Trusting only their own instincts, they swept through the ranks, hunting down any soldier who deemed a threat. No evidence needed. Within 1 week of deployment, the kingdom was in shambles. The soldiers had taken out millions of both soldiers and villagers. They kept intensifying their actions. Even though the rebellion's attacks were drastically reduced, there was sorrow everywhere, and the villagers cried out to the king, but he knew this was the only way, so he did not relent. He let them do their job. By this time, the army had dwindled by half, and the news got to the rival kingdoms. This was the perfect time to strike. Now the king had 2 wars on his hands, one within, one without. He could not hold both. Piece by piece, his lands were taken over. By this time, his trusted advisors began to whisper doubts, questioning his decision as a king and if he could really redeem the situation. The king called for another emergency meeting, this time to salvage what little remained. As he walked the long hallway, there was an uneasy feeling. He placed his hand on his blade. He kept it close. On entering the room, his chiefs jumped at him, trying to take him out once and for all, but the king was powerful. He fought hard and overpowered 5 of the 6 who jumped at him, cornered the 6th, and was about to finish him as well when the Saito soldiers entered. On entering the strategy room, they looked around. They saw the bodies of the chiefs lying cold. They turned to the king and declared him a threat to the kingdom. The king fought hard and stood his ground, but due to the injuries already acquired by fighting his own chiefs, he was taken down. That was how the great kingdom fell, starting from one man's rebellion, a man that nobody in the kingdom was able to recognize, even to this day. This is exactly how cancer works. It starts with one cell. A single cell in the body decides, I no longer want to work for the good of everyone else. I work for myself. This is a mutation, a rebellion at the smallest level. At first, this rogue cell looks just like any other. The body cannot recognize it as a threat, so it grows. It steals nutrients and blood supply from the cells around it, taking what it needs to survive. It divides and multiplies, and before long, one rebel cell becomes a tumor. This is the secret rebellion. The body still does not see the danger. The cancerous cells grow quietly, spreading to nearby tissues, compromising organs and siphoning life from the very system that created them. The body realizes something is terribly wrong. It sends out its most powerful soldiers, natural killer cells and cytotoxic T cells. These are the king's elite forces. Their job is to hunt down the threat and destroy it, but they are fierce and unforgiving. In the attack, they kill not only cancer cells but also healthy ones. They damage organs and they weaken the body from within. Now, the kingdom is fragile. While the immune system is busy fighting this internal war, the body becomes vulnerable to outside invaders, that is, infections, bacteria, viruses. These are the rival kingdoms. If no help arrives, if there is no treatment, no chemotherapy, no medical intervention, the cancer spreads further. This is called metastasis. It travels to vital organs like liver, lungs, or brain. There it wreaks havoc, and when the body's own defense cells finally reach those areas, the battle destroys critical structures the body needs to survive. The king's own chiefs, his most trusted leaders, turn on him. This is the body turning against itself. In cancer, this mirrors the moment when the tumor begins to corrupt the very environment around it. Healthy cells are no longer loyal to the body. Some are recruited to help the tumor by building blood vessels to feed it and shielding it from detection. The king is betrayed by his own. In the story, the natural K cells arrive. They see only chaos, the chiefs lying cold, the king standing in the middle of it. But they cannot tell a friend from a foe anymore. They attack the cancer cells, yes, but in the process, they also destroy healthy tissues, damage organs, and bring down the very system they were meant to protect. In the end, the kingdom falls, not because it was weak from the start, but because one cell rebelled, and the war that followed consumed everything.